Mechanics are tired of dealing with the bullcrap that comes along with fixing cars. You can ask any mechanic, the problem isn't just the cars, it's the terrible people that own them. People treat mechanics like we're trash and act like we're all scammers when 99% of mechanics just want to fix some cars, make some money, and go home. But several factors can make that difficult. One being today, cars are not made as well. Two being the people that own the cars are broke and difficult. Three being the system itself of car repair is broken. So when you're a mechanic in today's world, you're either working on an older car that's on its last set of wheels or a newer car that's poorly designed and made to fail. This can make jobs on both difficult because on older cars, things will break when you're taking stuff apart, and newer cars aren't always designed with the mechanic in mind. Let's start by talking about older cars. Most of them were made better and built to last, so they're still on the road, and when they come into the shop and they're in decent shape, their owner cares a lot about them. But these cars are over 20 years old, so it's likely when you're fixing one problem, you will find others along the way, or even worse, you may break some things which will cost you time and money. Now, rust is the devil to a mechanic, and it can make the easiest job take triple the time it should, and older cars are usually full of rust in the worst places. Another factor is getting parts for older vehicles. Get used to hearing that part has been discontinued or hey, it's on back order, and then you have to use some janky aftermarket part that's built in someone's basement or a sweatshop in China, and it won't last half as long as the OEM part. Now, this isn't just a problem with the older cars. Newer cars are designed poorly and they are filled with recalls and bad designs that fail all the time. And when these designs fail all the time, they all fail at once. And when they all fail at once, everybody orders the same part at once. And when everybody orders the same part at once, that part gets out of stock. And when that part gets out of stock, it goes on back order. And usually you can't get it for months at a time. And then you're forced to use a janky aftermarket part, and we already went over that. They usually don't work half as good. And when you get a part that doesn't work half as good and it fails in half the time, the customer brings the car back to you and then blames you for the problem. And that brings me to my next point. We already discussed the cars, and like I said, the cars aren't the big problem. The big problem is usually the people that own the cars. They don't understand the car, they don't understand how it works, and they don't understand how a mechanic does his job. Now, just like there's good and bad mechanics, there's good and bad people, and in fact, most people are actually good and are decent enough to give you the respect you deserve. But a good portion of the population treat their cars like trash, and usually when they treat their cars like trash, they also treat their mechanics like trash. And ironically, those are the people that usually need the mechanics the most because they're the ones that usually have the most broken cars. In turn, these are the people that the mechanics see most of the time. Unless you're working in a Mercedes or Audi dealership with gold-plated floors and Kool-Aid running out of the water fountain, you're usually going to see Hyundai and Kia owners, or even worse, a Jeep owner. And these people don't treat their cars very well, and you can usually tell the type of person by the type of car and the way it looks on the inside and out. For instance, if we have a 4Runner come in and it's clean on the inside and really clean on the outside, odds are that job's going to go pretty smoothly and we're going to have a pretty good relationship with that customer moving forward. But if a car comes in and it's a Nissan Altima and the hubcap's missing and it's got a cracked bumper on it and it doesn't look very well on the inside either, we know that putting a transmission in this car probably isn't going to be the smartest thing to do, even though the customer's insisting on it. And that's exactly what happened to this 2013 Nissan Altima. This car came in, and we knew it wasn't worth the price of a transmission repair, but the customer stated she had no money in the car as it was given to her, and she was ready to spend money so she had a good, reliable vehicle. She was desperate for a car, and even with the hefty bill, this was about the cheapest option she had. And we stayed in contact with her for weeks and months, talking about the bill, making sure she was going to come in and pay it, and she always insisted that she was going to come in and pay us. And I actually believe her and actually believed that she was going to do it. That is until the day that we no longer heard from her. And I guess she found a cheaper option for a nice, reliable car, and I can't say I blame her if she did find that cheaper option. But now I'm stuck with a 2013 Nissan Altima, and I got to get my money back out of it. And this isn't the only story I have like this. In fact, I have a lot of stories like this, and it was my main job when I first started helping out at the shop to get all the abandoned cars off the lot and get whatever money I could for them. them. And I bet I've done over 100 of them for my dad and for my shop and other shops in the local areas. That's right, it's not just a problem at my shop, it's a problem at other shops. And I have a couple businesses I'm partnered with where if they have cars that are just left on the lot, I'll come over there, I'll look at the car, and I'll actually give them an offer to buy it so they can get it off of their lot. Now, sometimes these cars are left abandoned before they're even repaired, and sometimes they are repaired and then left abandoned. Either way, they probably need some more repairs before they're in a sellable condition. So anytime a car is left on the lot, it's a guaranteed liability, and it's going to be guaranteed. You're going to have to pour more money into it to get your money back out of it. Let's take this 2013 Nissan Altima as an example. We got a transmission for this thing straight from the dealership, and the transmission alone cost us about $2,700. Now, when you factor in other costs like programming and fluid and labor, we probably had about $3,500 in this job in total. Now, we didn't have the job sold for much more than that, and I can't remember the exact figure, but it doesn't matter anyways because we did not collect the money. And the only way we could collect the money now was to get the title for this vehicle and try to get it in sellable condition and get our money back out of the resale value. So now this car is ours. Long story short, we did not get our money back. We only got about $2,700 for this vehicle after months of it sitting on our lot for sale. I've had vehicles that we actually got for free and we put little money into it and we were able to sell it for a decent profit. And I've also had vehicles like this Nissan Altima where we did not make any money on it, and in fact we lost money on doing the business. Now, this is a system that has been set up in the automotive industry that's causing all these issues. The system itself is flawed, and it's the mechanics that usually get the short end of the sticks and also, ironically, the blame for everything as well. Like I said in the beginning of the video, most mechanics just want to fix some cars, make a decent living, and go home and live a peaceful life. I have never once met a greedy mechanic that was trying to get out there and scam people out of their money like most people think they are. Those people are service writers, and they can either be a mechanic's best friend or worst enemy. The problem with service writers is they usually come from a sales background, which means they're going to try to pitch a sale to you when you need them to fix your car, and nobody wants to be sold to when their car is broken. So oftentimes when you're in independent shop, the service writer will need help from the mechanic explaining the issues and actually getting the customer to sign off on the repair, which takes up more time for the mechanic. Now, there are good service writers out there, but they are not easy to find, and usually they are older mechanics that are just tired of working on nuts and bolts and they just want to answer phones now and stay in the AC. Now, service writers are absolutely necessary in the repair industry because we can't have customers one-on-one with the mechanic at all times. One, the mechanic doesn't have time for that, and two, the mechanic is more prone to help the customer out by giving them a cheaper price, which is okay for the customer and okay for the mechanic as long as he can afford it. But usually in this industry, you will not make any money helping people out with prices. And that brings me to my final point. The system of car repair itself is broken, and it's not the mechanics to blame, it's not the service writers to blame, it's the manufacturers we need to blame, because they're the ones that have designed these cars where they cost so much to repair that it leaves little room for a little guy like the mechanic or service writer to make any money off the repair on the back end. One major expense that has tripled in the last couple years is labor. Now, labor has gone up for several different reasons. One, because it's in higher demand because we have less mechanics out there willing to do this work, and two, it's because these cars are more advanced now and it takes a more advanced mechanic to get them fixed. Now, nobody ever tells anybody this when they're going to buy a car that's brand new and has all this new technology in it. They don't mention how hard it may be to fix or how much it's going to cost when it finally breaks. This is the manufacturers throwing the service writers and mechanics under the bus because they got to be the bad guys to tell you that your car sucks and it's going to cost way more than it's worth to fix. And this is why service writers and the mechanics get the bad rap when they really shouldn't. And honestly, they're the ones that get paid the least. I mean, the guys that sell the cars, they're always in the nice fancy suits and driving the Mercedes to work, and the guys that are working on them, they're the ones driving the old 1997 Toyotas. That's because the way mechanics get paid usually is not fair. They get paid on a system called flat rate, which means you get paid for what you get done. And the good thing for that is the more things you do, the more you get paid, but you only get paid for a certain amount of time per job. For instance, if a job calls for 4 hours to remove and replace a transmission and you get it done in 2, well, you get paid 4 hours for that job, even though it only took you 2. Here's the bad part. Unless you're a mechanic that's really experienced and you know the car like the back of your hand, that transmission swap is probably not going to take you 2 hours. It's probably really going to take you 8, which is double the time that you're going to get paid for. Now, not all jobs are like that. There are jobs called gravy jobs that are fairly easy to get done and they pay a lot of time, so you can make a lot of money doing those jobs. But they're not easy to come by. And if you've ever worked on a car, you know that unexpected things happen, like broken bolts and rusty studs, that take a job that should take 30 minutes and turn it into a 3-day ordeal. Now imagine you're in one of those jobs that's taking 3 days and it should have took 30 minutes. That means you're only going to get paid for 30 minutes even though you've been working 3 days. And then you go to look at your next job and you see that it's a comeback from last week and it's all warranty work, which means you're not going to get paid for any of it. Now these are real life situations that mechanics go through every single day, and it is the number one reason why we have a shortage of mechanics in the US of A. And if we don't fix it soon, you will have nobody to work on your cars, and you'll have to email me about every single car problem you have. And if you do have any car problems and you have any questions about it, you can email me at justcallmeeddie1@gmail.com, and I'll help you out with any problems that you have. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook, where I post weekly content about the day-to-day things that I do. Don't forget to check out my YouTube shorts and my Patreon while you're at it. Thanks for watching, and whatever you do, however you do it, make sure you work hard, make sure you play hard, and most importantly, make sure you stay dirty. You can just call me Eddie.